A glitch in the matrix is an explanation for an unlikely or irregular occurrence. Glitches are events that can only really make sense if we accept the notion that our current reality is actually a kind of simulation. They often seem like errors in computer programs. Some common types include objects vanishing and sometimes reappearing. Sometimes they are never seen again. Sometimes they reappear in the same location, which has been repeatedly searched. Sometimes they reappear in broad daylight, in a position where they could have been easily seen. Another example is people being seen by different witnesses at different locations at the same time, or not being seen in places where they should be. People vanishing, often for considerable times, often with multiple searches, then reappearing and claiming that they have never left the spot. People seeing themselves. The following stories are true events shared by Reddit users, adding an additional layer to this mysterious phenomenon. If mystery, darkness, and the supernatural are right up your alley, hit that subscribe button and the bell notification, because if you don't, you as well might mysteriously vanish. Click the like button as well for an added layer of protection. I'd like to preface this by saying my husband is an electrical engineer and I'm a teacher. We're not crazy people. So, back when my husband and I were dating, my husband was in a terrible car crash. His truck hit black ice and he slid into oncoming traffic, and it was completely totaled. So was the other truck he hit. The weird thing is though, both he and the other guy were completely fine. Not a scratch on them. All my husband had was a bruise on his knee. The first responders were baffled, as was the towing company and insurance when they realized no one had died or was severely injured. Fast forward to a few days after the crash, my husband comes over to my apartment. We're having a conversation about a university class we're both in, and he casually asks when I got the flat screen TV sitting on my dresser. At this point, I'm very confused because I've had the little flat screen since I was 13 and had had it the entire year and the bit while we'd been dating. I asked him what he was talking about, as I've always had that TV. He told me to quit pulling his leg and asked me what I did with the old tube TV. I had no idea what he was talking about and told him so. He's convinced I had a tube TV. I proceed to get on Facebook and showed him a picture we had taken 2 weeks prior with the TV in the background. It's a flat screen in the picture. My husband goes white like he's seen a ghost and just stares into space for a minute. His eyes started to water. I asked him what was wrong and he said, "I swear to God, I'm not crazy. You've had a tube TV since we started dating. It was a tube TV when we took that picture." I brushed it off as his head being rattled from the accident, and he didn't bring it up again. However, anytime we hung out in my room, he'd always look at the TV weird. Fast forward 7 years. My husband and I have been married for a few years and decide that we're ready to be parents. I'm not on birth control and we decide whatever happens, happens. We're not actively trying, but not preventing it either. So we're on vacation in Italy, wandering around Rome, and I feel like shit. I had had my period the week before, and it was the worst one I had had in my whole life. As we're walking around, I'm suffering from back pain, chills, and horrific cramping. I go to the bathroom in a cafe and hurl my guts out. I have diarrhea and realize I'm menstruating heavily. Obviously, I'm weirded out since I had just had my period a week before. I clean myself up, go back to my husband and tell him I think I need a doctor. I have a pretty high pain tolerance, but this is insane. It's getting to the point I'm having trouble walking, and I'm starting to feel pain in my shoulders. I don't want to ruin our vacation, but I'm starting to really worry. My husband is smarter than me, sees the state I'm in, and says I'm visibly paler than when I went into the bathroom, and gets me help. 20 minutes later, I'm on a stretcher and being taken to the hospital. An hour after that, I'm being prepped for emergency surgery, as the doctor tells me I have a ruptured ectopic pregnancy. I have heavy internal bleeding, and if he doesn't perform surgery, I am going to die. 6 hours later, I wake up very sore and tired. The doctor tells me I'm very lucky, and if I had waited any longer to seek medical attention, I'd be dead. My husband stays with me in the hospital the first night, then gets a hotel for the rest of my stay. A week later, we're cleared to fly home, and I go through a grueling month of healing from the surgery. 2 months after our return, somehow my husband and I get on the topic of fires, and he goes on about the dangers of kitchen fires, and I say, "No need to worry, we're all set with the extinguisher in the closet." He looks at me like I have 3 heads and asks me what I'm talking about. I remind him about the extinguisher in the front closet where we keep the coats. We've had it for 3 years. He insisted we buy one when we bought our house. My husband shakes his head and tells me he has no idea what I'm talking about, and we don't have a fire extinguisher. I remind him about not only my memories of fighting about it if we really needed one, where to put it, buying it from Home Depot, but also installing it in the wall in the closet. He looks at me with confusion and tells me none of that happened. I get up, go to the closet to show it to him, all the while cursing him for being an asshole, for forgetting our whole 2-week fight about it, and lo and behold, no extinguisher. Not only is there no extinguisher, there's no holes in the wall where I know we installed it. No fresh paint. This wall has never been touched. I insist he's moved it and fixed the wall, and ask why the fuck he would play such a stupid prank. He continues to insist we've never had one, let alone talked about getting one. This goes on for several minutes. I'm approaching hysterics, telling him to quit playing with me when he finally says, "Now you know how I feel about that TV." We didn't speak about it for a long time. Then, after I found this thread, he brought up his theory that perhaps in another timeline or dimension, whatever you want to call it, we both actually died, and we reset like a video game, and the TV and extinguisher are glitches. I don't know if I agree with him, but all I know is that I have never been so rattled in my whole life, and every time I get something out of the closet, I'm overwhelmed with this feeling of wrongness. I know it should be there, but somehow it's just not. I can't explain it. He says he will go to his grave swearing we had a tube TV. For a few weeks before this incident, while out driving, I've observed pedestrians standing at the traffic lights who will reach into their pocket and look at their phone as they're walking across the road when the light goes green. Nothing significant or strange about this, just one of those mundane things you notice while going about your day. Today, I was driving with my daughter and we stopped at a red light at a crossing, and there was a man standing there. Nothing out of the ordinary. Denim jacket, black cap, glasses, and around 6 feet 2. I thought I'd try to weird out my young daughter. She's 5, so I knew I was going to blow her damn mind. So I said, "See that man? When the walking man goes green and he starts to walk across, he'll reach into his pocket and pull out his phone and start looking at it. Watch and see." As he walks across, he reaches into his pocket, but then immediately takes his hand out and looks and points right at me with his mouth open, smiling like a gotcha stance. Of course, my daughter found this absolutely hilarious, and I sat there completely mind blown. I must have sat there in silence looking at him walk across for the next 10 seconds. I drove on and had a look at him as I drove past, and he was smirking and laughing. I've been playing it through my head all day. The windows were up. The radio was on. I wasn't shouting. My voice was not even remotely raised. He must have been about 15 to 20 feet away from me. I can't figure out at all how he could have heard me. It's literally impossible. How did he know I was trying to predict he'd reach into his pocket for his phone? The only even remote possibility I can think of is that he has had the same observation as me and thought I might be thinking the same thing, so just went for it. But realistically, what are even the chances of this? Thank you so much for making it to the end of the video and listening to these stories. The next time you lose a sock, ask yourself, did you really lose it, or was it a glitch? Remember to subscribe, like, and hit the bell notification for more content like this. See you in the next video, and goodbye, Darklings.